Forget everything you think you know about the Illuminati. Forget the eye in the pyramid on the dollar bill. Forget the secret cabals ruling the world from the shadows. Forget the pop culture references and the endless conspiracy theories. Today, we're not talking about fiction. We're going on a deep dive into the real, historical origins of one of the most misunderstood secret societies in history. Our story begins not in the modern day, but in the heart of the Enlightenment. In 1776, this was an age of reason, a time when old ideas about monarchy and religion were being challenged by new philosophies centered on science, logic, and human freedom. In Bavaria, a state in what is now Germany, a young law professor named Adam Weishaupt felt the winds of change. He was deeply dissatisfied with the power held by the conservative monarchy and the Jesuit-controlled institutions. He dreamed of a world free from superstition and state oppression, a world guided by reason and morality. So, on May 1st, 1776, Weishaupt and 4 of his students founded a secret society. They didn't call themselves the Illuminati at first. Their original name was the Covenant of Perfectibility. Their goal? To enlighten the minds of their members, freeing them from prejudice and preparing them to build a better, more rational society. The name Illuminati, which means the enlightened ones in Latin, came a bit later. It perfectly captured their mission, to spread the light of reason in a world they saw as shrouded in darkness. Now, why the secrecy? Weishaupt believed that the powerful institutions of the time, especially the church and the state, would crush any open attempt at radical reform. Secrecy was a shield. It allowed them to recruit influential men to discuss and develop their progressive ideas without fear of persecution. Their structure was modeled after the Freemasons, with elaborate initiation rituals and a hierarchical system of degrees. New members, called novices, would slowly progress through ranks like Minerval and Illuminated Minerval, learning the society's philosophies step by step. At its core, the Illuminati's philosophy was radical for its time. They advocated for the abolition of monarchies, the end of state-sponsored religion, and the promotion of gender equality ideas that were downright revolutionary in 18th century Europe. They weren't plotting to take over the world in the way modern theories suggest. Instead, they aimed to place their members in positions of power and influence in government, education, and other key fields. The plan wasn't a violent coup, but a quiet, long-term revolution of the mind. By educating and elevating the right people, they believed they could gradually transform society from within, creating a new world order based on reason and universal happiness. The Illuminati's influence grew surprisingly quickly. They attracted lawyers, doctors, intellectuals, and even some nobles. One of their most significant recruits was Baron von Knigge, a prominent German diplomat and Freemason. Knigge was a brilliant organizer. He helped Weishaupt refine the society's rituals and structure, and he was instrumental in recruiting members from Masonic lodges across Germany. Under his influence, the Illuminati's membership swelled to a few thousand people, a significant number for a secret society of its kind. They had members in Germany, Austria, France, and beyond. It seemed Weishaupt's vision was on its way to becoming a reality. However, as the society grew, so did internal conflicts. Weishaupt and Baron von Knigge began to clash over the direction of the order. Weishaupt wanted to maintain absolute control, while Knigge argued for a more democratic structure. Their disagreements became so intense that Knigge eventually left the order in 1784, a major blow to the organization. But a far greater threat was looming on the horizon. The Bavarian government, led by Duke Karl Theodor, was deeply suspicious of secret societies. They saw groups like the Freemasons and the Illuminati as a threat to their authority and the established order. Spies and informants began to infiltrate these groups, and rumors of the Illuminati's radical, anti-government agenda started to spread. In 1785, the Duke issued an edict that officially banned all secret societies, including the Illuminati. This was the beginning of the end. The government crackdown was swift and brutal. Authorities raided the homes of known members, confiscating their documents, letters, and internal papers. These documents, which detailed the Illuminati's structure, goals, and membership lists, were then published and widely circulated by the government as propaganda. They were presented as proof of a dangerous conspiracy to overthrow all religion and government. Weishaupt was stripped of his university position and forced to flee Bavaria, living the rest of his life in exile. Other members were arrested or lost their jobs. Within just a few years of the ban, the original Bavarian Illuminati had effectively been dismantled. It ceased to exist as a functioning organization by 1787, barely a decade after it was founded. So, if they were disbanded in the 1780s, why are we still talking about them today? This is where history ends and the legend begins. The documents published by the Bavarian government created a panic. Books like Proofs of a Conspiracy by John Robison and Memoirs, illustrating the history of Jacobinism by Abbé Barruel, took these confiscated papers and ran with them. They argued that the Illuminati had not been destroyed, but had simply gone deeper underground. They claimed the Illuminati were the secret masterminds behind the French Revolution and were continuing their plot for world domination. These books were bestsellers, and they cemented the image of the Illuminati as an all-powerful, malevolent shadow government. This narrative was incredibly compelling, and it tapped into deep-seated fears about social change and hidden powers. The legend was passed down through generations, evolving and attaching itself to new events and groups. In the 20th and 21st centuries, with the rise of the Internet, these conspiracy theories exploded. The Illuminati became a catch-all term for any perceived hidden elite controlling world events, from politics to the entertainment industry. So, what's the truth? The historical evidence shows that the original Bavarian Illuminati was a real group with radical ideas, but it was short-lived and ultimately unsuccessful. They were a product of the Enlightenment, a group of idealists who dreamed of a better world, but were crushed by the powers they sought to challenge. The modern idea of the Illuminati as an ancient, all-powerful cabal has very little to do with Adam Weishaupt and his small circle of Bavarian intellectuals. It's a myth, a legend built on 2 centuries of fear, speculation, and misinformation. The real story of the Illuminati is a fascinating look at the tensions of the Enlightenment and the power of ideas. It is a reminder that history is often more complex and nuanced than the legends that grow from it. The next time you hear someone mention the Illuminati, you'll know the real story behind the myth. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more. See you next time.